love it.
Hello and welcome to this episode of No Blasters with me, Kieran Bartlett. Today's guest is global bestseller Steve Cavanagh. He's here to talk about his new book, Witness 8, Great Times, out on the 1st of August. I'm super excited. Super excited. I'm just going to do a couple of ad reads here first. So, firstly, no mystery here, I'm just doing ad reads. So, today's episode is sponsored by Doogie's Goodies. Doogie's Goodies is the finest bakery on God's green earth. This is in Ballymena. What's wrong with me? Sharpen up, right? So, Doogie's Goodies is in Ballymena, Church Street in Ballymena. Great bakery. Go there. The bakery now looks like a nightclub, which is a great time. They have everything. They've sent us, look at this, a wee bespoke message and all for Steve and I, and for me and Steve, and they've sent us a whole box of buns. Now I'm going to do a wee quick run through here of what's in this. So this is some sort of dirty Biscoff French fancy. This is like a carrot cake with a wee carrot and all on it, a caramel square of 15, a jammy doogie, a raspberry French fancy, the chocolate cream chocolate French fancy, a homemade wagon wheel, and I don't even know what that one is, but it looks like do you know what that is? That's a good time party cake there. That's what that is. Now some of you are sitting there going, are you eating all that? No, we do give these things away. Now you can go onto their website, doogiesgoodies.com. You can find out where they're selling this, because they sell it in loads of shops now in other towns, like in some Spars and stuff like that. And you can find out where those shops are. You can also order cakes on there. Give them 48 hours notice for whatever you need. It's cheap as chips. It's unbelievable. It's all soft and all. It's great. So enjoy that. Today's episode is also sponsored by Manscaped.com. Manscaped.com, we're talking about, here, you want a global bestseller? Let me tell you about Manscaped.com. This is straight up pure removal of the highest level, right? You're thinking to yourself, it's the summer, I'm getting long bag because it's all sweaty and all, the weather's all humid, chemtrails, right? It's all humid. You're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do about that? Go bald, just do it here. It's common courtesy these days, all right? Maybe you're going to show that bag to somebody, maybe they'd like it to be bald, all right? Or at least trimmed. So go over to manscaped.com, use the code NOBLASTERS20, that's the word no blasters, all one word, and the number 20, drawn backwards and all for you, right? No blasters 20. Links in the description for 20% off and free shipping. I highly recommend the Lawnmower 5.0, which is, you can use it for any hair, really. I mean, you could use it on your head and you can use it here, but they do also have things for that, like the hedger and the handyman, and they also have the weed whacker for your nose and ear hair, which I've started using recently, which is very sad at 37. So you can use all those, but the Lawnmower is like, you could literally shave your pubes in a cave and it would work, right? Underwater, it works. It's great times. So it'll work in your dingy wee bathroom wherever you live. Now, manscaped.com. No blasters 20. Great times. They love us. We love them. Lastly, just let me tell you very quickly, over at patreon.com/no blasters is the home of all things Kieran Bartlett, the Goblin King. We have all my specials on there. We have Never Mind the Mock Blame on there. We have a whole podcast called No Blasters Extra Time, which comes out every Thursday just for Patreon. It's a great time. That's for £3 a month. For £6, you get all that plus a wee bit more. You can arrange to have your own episode of No Blasters Extra Time where you play me on FIFA, whatever. It's a great time. Patreon.com/No Blasters. Now, would you like a wee bun, or do you want to wait?
I might wait.
I won't lie to you, right? I know I said I'd give these away. I'm intrigued by the 15 because I haven't had a 15 from Doogie's. I like these wee ones, the chocolate French fancy. I have my eye on that. And if I'm being honest, I have my eye on the carrot cake for Chloe. Now, the rest of it's up for grabs. Now, I do know Fosty will fight you for that wagon wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We were discussing wagon wheels, or you were saying you prefer ones with jam in them?
Well, doesn't everybody?
I don't know.
What, I mean, because an ordinary wagon wheel's fine. You've got your biscuit and your chocolate and your marshmallow. But when you put jam in there, you get that extra wee hit.
See, but this was I think it's whatever you grew up with, because I would have grown up with the original.
Right.
We wouldn't have been a jam wagon wheel family.
Before the jam revolution in wagon wheels.
But my theory on wagon wheels, I believe they used to be like this. Now that could be this is all very bringing back memories of when I was a priest. But like, there used to be, I think they used to be like that size, and now I think they're maybe more like that size. And I don't know if it's because I've gotten bigger or are, like every biscuit, are they getting smaller? Because toffee pops are shite now and are definitely smaller.
Really?
And I don't think there's real sugar in toffee pops anymore.
Okay.
I mean, this possible. Listen, these are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah.
I wonder as well, is a wagon wheel one of those biscuits that doesn't have real chocolate on it? Is it chocolate flavoured coating? Because I wonder.
Oh, it is very sweet. It's a sweet chocolate.
So it's like, and it melts quicker.
Yeah.
These, again, issues that you only have when you're undiagnosed type 2. Now,
have you had the Jaffa cake? Does the Jaffa cake occupy you at all? Is it a cake or a biscuit?
Do you know I've sold out because, well, I believe it's a biscuit, but like, I mean, because I think you would have it with tea. Now, I don't drink tea, but I think other people would. Would you have them with tea? You dip them? I've seen people dip a Jaffa.
You could dip a Jaffa.
Yeah.
But do you know that legally Jaffa cake is a cake? By law.
Is that because of like the bottom of it? You would know this as well.
I do know this. I'm filled with stupid, useless knowledge.
I don't want to say you used to be a lawyer because I don't know.
I did used to be a lawyer.
But you used to be. You're not practicing now.
No, I don't practice now.
Right. So
I'm a recovering lawyer.
Yeah. So you've been clean for a while. So it's because the bottom of this is like the bread in Subway is not bread. It's
what?
Cake. It was ruled as cake in America or something because it's also
okay.
It doesn't have the nutritional components that make bread.
All right, now you're exceeding my knowledge.
Yeah.
But the Jaffa cake was to do with VAT. Because
something else I don't understand. I get bills for it and go, for fuck. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Well, Her Majesty's Revenue Commissioners or His Majesty's Revenue Commissioners can be tricky. Yeah. But yes, there was VAT to be paid on biscuits, but not cake. Smart. So there was a case to decide if a Jaffa cake is a cake or a biscuit with millions of pounds, at stake.
Yeah.
And the way that is differentiated between a cake and a biscuit legally is if you leave a cake out, it goes hard, but if you leave a biscuit out, it goes soft.
I must mean,
how much more setup do you need?
That must mean that several bits of me are cake and biscuit.
Biscuit.
You know what I mean? If I leave my hand out long enough, it will go soft. But if other bits of me go hard when you leave them out. Now, that's mental. That's mental. I didn't know that. But like, so see with I've sold out on the Jaffa cake front, right? Because isn't it, McVitie's is the classic Jaffa cake, isn't it? McVitie's. I don't love them, but do you know what I do love? The wee posh ones that Marxies do.
Oh yeah.
They're like a wee Jaffa rectangle, a wee oblong. Oh.
There's darker chocolate
in those. And they're dirty. They don't have like the sheet of orange jelly. It has like a murmur because it's Marxies. It has to be a whisper of orange jam or something. I love that shit. I love them. So let's talk. So firstly, right, I have so many questions, mate. This is crazy. I'm very excited. I've read. I haven't read all your books. I think I haven't read the Kill for Me, Kill for You.
Right.
I haven't read that, but I've read all the other ones.
Okay.
So I'm excited.
Thank you very much.
I'm really glad you're here. I'm an aspiring author, so I want to talk to you about process and stuff. But let's talk about the new book, which you've kindly brought a proof copy of. Great
Very
times.
nice. Thank you.
Where can people get this on the 1st of August?
Anywhere where books are sold in the UK. So Amazon or Blackwell's or Waterstones.
No Alibis.
No Alibis
Champion,
bookstore.
right.
Yes, I'm doing a wee signing No Alibis on the 27th of July.
Brilliant.
In the morning. So if you want to meet me and get your book signed, you can do that there.
Great.
Come and see me and Dave. But I'm excited. It's always a wee bit nerve-wracking before a book comes out because you don't know how people are going to react to it. But we've had the first sort of broadsheet reviews now and the first reader reviews, and they're all 5 stars. So
Brilliant.
That's a relief.
That's unreal. Congratulations. So like on the back, these are great endorsements. What do you call it? They're not called that. What are they called?
Blurbs, kind of, yeah.
So the British John Grisham. That's what Richard Osman said about it. Steve Cavanagh's twists hit you between the eyes. You never see them coming. That's from Anthony Horowitz, and the best hooks in the business from Mick Heron. So you all probably know who Richard Osman is. Most of you will know Mick Heron from Slow Horses. Anthony Horowitz, most people will know. He did those ads. You know what I really like by him? Weirdly, those Alex Rider books.
Alex Rider books,
the young spy.
Yeah.
They're cracking. And what do you call the one? I read one of his...
The Magpie Murders.
Magpie Murders,
Yeah.
where it's like, and you know, I read that, and then I got the audiobook of it because somebody told me the audio was good, because it's like different points of view, and they have different readers doing them. And I think one of them was Moneypenny, and some of the James Bonds. I think she reads some of them, or else
Samantha
some
Bond.
temp file. Yeah, I think, or else maybe some file in here's like not accessible right now. I'm not sharp at all. I'm knackered. I've had a very hard week. Leave me alone right now. So so this is the next Eddie Flynn.
Yes.
And so this is like a series, but you can read them out of order.
You can read them in any order. I
definitely did read them out of order.
Yeah. They're designed so you can pick up the latest book and you won't have missed anything or not understand things that have gone before. They're all written like that. You can read them in any order.
So Eddie Flynn's like a lawyer who is also, or was also, like a con man.
Yeah.
So he has that kind of like duality of like, it's funny like in a lot of times as well. So like, how did that character sort of come to you? Like, where does that, is that sort of steeped in your own kind of time as a con man, or like as a lawyer?
A wee bit. You know, because growing up in Belfast, there was always somebody doing something.
We moves.
On the make we moves. My grandfather would have been doing a lot of stuff. He used to brew his own poaching. So he used to brew poaching, and you know, he had always people coming to the house with big empty Smirnoff bottles for him, but he was running out of those. So he was living on the Old Park Road in the 80s, and there was always somebody in the community going to Lourdes, making a pilgrimage to Lourdes to get the cure. And so he would say, "Bring me back bottles of holy water."
Right, okay.
So he would brew poaching and sell it from his front door in litre bottles, plastic bottles in the shape of the Virgin Mary.
Great times.
And
holy water.
Holy water, absolutely. So it was all going fine, it was all going great. And then the priest came to see him and said, listen, I'll tell you what happened. So the bishop had come round to see the priest and said, listen, Father, I just want to tell you what a fabulous job you've done with this community. The faith coming out of this community is amazing. I was driving in here and I saw two men standing on the corner drinking holy water. He was just done an amazing job. So he was always on things like that, and he would sell. People would take them over to England, you know, in their bag and get in the boat. And he said to them, if you're stopped and the searching and the taste the holy water, just fall to your knees and say it's a miracle. So
I had poaching one time. Our Kevin, somebody that our Kevin used to be a teacher, and how many times have I just said our Kevin? But anyway, Kev used to be a teacher, and one of the other teachers was from up in the Glens and came in one time. I think Kev was maybe changing jobs around this time, and so it was like a farewell present, and they gave him like a big liter bottle, and it was a Smirnoff bottle too. But it was poaching from the Glens, and he had it. It sat in the house for ages, and the guy said to him something like, "If you're gonna have it, heat it up a wee bit and put cloves in it and all." And I'm going, load of shite, right? And then there was this night, I think I was maybe like 20. I think I was still working in Tesco, because there was definitely Tesco people there, like, and there was nobody in I never had I never had like a free house, like someone was always there. I think this was like maybe the first time I had a free, right? It was like 20 or 21. And I invited some Tesco people around where we were all having a drink in my man's conservatory, right? And mate, Kev goes, "Here, I have that bottle of poaching there." And I was like, "It's been sitting there forever, like it's probably just petrol now, like." And he was like, "Sure, we'll see what it's like." And mate, he poured some of it out, and we all had a wee bit. And then it just silly, stupid things started happening where, like, I know somebody hit their head off a radiator and laughed. Do you know what I mean? Like, smashed their head and went, and you're just like, this is poaching. And this was before going out. So it was just like,
there is an anaesthetic effect.
It's a stupid drink. Like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not good. It's not good for you.
And it tastes like shit. Like,
no, it tastes horrible.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. That was fucking nuts. That was probably as blocked as I've been with as little drinking involved as possible. Like, it was fucking mad.
Well, you have no idea how powerful it is or anything like that. But he was always up, my granddad was always up to stuff like that. The other thing he did was, in the days when they had an electric meter in the house, he had worked out if you got a Polaroid photograph and cut a wee bit out of it. You could slip it behind the meter, and then the meter wouldn't turn.
Oh, very
50p
good.
would do you.
Good for ages.
So he was going around selling these things to all the street, and everyone would go around, picking around his house. Can I get one of them things for the meter? And he'd give us a $5, and there you go. And again, all going well until he had a knock on the door one day, and it was the paramilitaries. Said, I believe you've been selling these cards. That all has to stop. Because the problem was, after the electric man had come round and emptied all the meters, they would rob him, expecting to get about £500, and they got about £14.50, and were indignant at the level of criminality and fraud in the community, and found out it was McGranda doing this. So they went round and said to him, "Oh no, had to all stop this."
Fuck's sake!
But it was.
That's a great. That's a great twist in the middle of that story. Like, that's mad. So that's sort of where the notion of that comes from, and then your experience maybe as civil rights lawyer.
Did civil rights and I did a lot of criminal. So I did both.
So explain. Sorry, just explain this, because is that as a solicitor or like as an advocate, or like
I was technically a solicitor advocate.
So that's like somewhere between solicitor and barrister.
Yeah,
right.
So you can do a lot of your own work in court,
right,
and speaking in court. But there are certain cases you're not allowed to do. You have to have a barrister or a QC. Once it gets to murder or whatever,
right,
you need a barrister or a QC.
Mado.
So I did.
How long did you do that for?
I was almost 20 years.
Fuck. What's that like?
It was good. It was demanding.
Yeah.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Aye.
But I'd loved the people I was working with great crack. And sometimes it's very hard. You're dealing with people who have major problems in their lives. Nobody comes to see the work I did when things are going well. But it was great chance to help people. That was the way I looked at it. I can get to help somebody here.
Aye.
I started off working in a more commercial firm representing insurance companies, and then I moved to a small firm where I could represent ordinary people. So it was sort of a wee bit like, gamekeeper turned poacher stuff.
Yeah.
But I liked that a lot more. It was great. It was good.
Was that mostly in Belfast then?
All over Northern Ireland.
Right,
I was in courts all over Northern Ireland.
Mental. So I was a journalist for a wee while. Did fuck all really. But they used to send me, I would have got sent. This was when I was studying, so I would have got sent for shit work, like primarily on when I would have worked some shifts for different papers or a website or whatever here, and you would mostly get sent into the shite, just go and sit in the court, fucking all morning and just anything of interest. Mm-hmm. It was mostly shite, but on the odd occasion, great times happened. So I was in court. Have I talked about this? That I was in court for Willie Fraser's taser case. I was in court that day, which was a fun time. Willie Taser, obviously, became the headline. But that was a mad time where people were hiding flags inside their clothes.
Right.
And when he came out, they all lifted him out and they're all like, "Fucking no!" Judges just get out. And then people just descend on them from nowhere. It was fucking great, because most of the time it's just shoplifting and drugs, mostly shit.
Yeah, some of it's, but you do get, often people ask me, do you use stuff from your real life, your real career in your books? And I always say no.
Yeah.
Because, there's a kind of a confidentiality duty, which I take very, very seriously even now. But also, nobody would believe me. Yeah. I write high concept books about serial killers and juries and stuff like this. But if I put anything real, then people go, I don't buy that.
Aye.
We had a case once where a guy, he tried to rob a post office with a dead seagull.
As his partner or as his weapon?
Well, I'm not sure about this. So he had wandered into a post office and he had a dead seagull by the ankle, by the legs.
Yeah.
He walked in and he said, "Give me all your money," and started banging the body of the seagull against the security glass.
To be fair, see, at that point, I'm working in that post office. I'm like, mate, fucking take my PIN number as well. Just get out. Do what you want.
So he was, alcohol was involved in the commission of this offence. So he was quickly apprehended, and we'd said to him, where the hell did you get the seagull from? And he said, I have no idea where the seagull came from. We couldn't work it out at all. But the difficult part of the case was he was charged with armed robbery.
Oh my God. Winged robbery.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there was no arms.
There was, well, he had no arms. Yeah, winged robbery. But the thing was, can you be armed in
With
the
a gun,
technical
with a seagull?
sense
Yeah.
with a dead
like
seabird?
It's like a Jaffa cake.
It's a Jaffa cake biscuit type scenario. So I was looking up case law and everything. There's nothing here about birds or badgers or whatever it was. So we basically sort of decided, well, if you get hit round the back with it, it would probably hurt. So he probably was armed.
Fuck.
But
that's mental. That's mental.
That's like one
but you're right.
thing.
But
I put that in the book. People go, what the hell is this nonsense?
Off. Yeah, that's mental. That's funny though. Imagine. I'm trying to think. Is there any what animals would make a great weapon? Like a sword, like a swordfish. You could definitely. I would consider that an armed robbery. Like, you know what I mean, or something like that. You know what I mean, or coming in with like a fucking scorpion or something.
Yes.
You know, in tongs. You know, that's mental.
Yeah.
So then, how then did you go from doing like law like that into then becoming like a writer? Then how did that? I hate this word. How did that journey?
Oh, my journey.
How did that?
My X Factor journey.
Tell me about your journey.
You got music to play when I was done with this.
Get Brian Kennedy on there, Dan.
Yeah.
Right?
It was kind of a gradual thing. I always read. And before I was a lawyer, I would write screenplays and stuff.
Right,
but,
okay.
Never got anywhere with that. Managed to get an agent, but never sold anything. And stopped writing when I was about 20.
Right.
And I never wrote anything.
Fuck, you must have started like really early, like.
Oh, yeah, that was like sort of from about 17 to 20, right, I wrote screenplays. But didn't get anywhere. I thought, this is too hard. So just concentrated on the law. And then when I was about 35, my mum, who'd always encouraged me to write, she passed away.
All right, okay.
Right suddenly. And I thought, well, I want to try and write a book for her. Because she had given me, Silence of the Lambs when I was like 12 or 13 or something, and I loved that. So she had always encouraged me for reading. So I wanted to write a book that she would like, and that's how I started writing the first novel.
Yeah.
And got publishing deal and got a 3-book deal. And then I thought, right, I have 3 chances here to learn how to write a book. And went from there.
And did you... I think I've read before that like you just went from like your first one, like a lot of authors have stuff sitting in wee files and in wee drawers that no one will ever see.
Yeah.
But you don't have that. You're like you're just like fucking straight into the Premier League.
Well, no, not really. I wrote like a paragraph or like a fight scene sort of thing.
Yeah.
Page fights and see, can I write anything that does this make sense? And I showed it to my wife Tracy and said, what do you think of that? And she read it and she said, that's shite. And I thought, okay, well, thanks very much for your feedback.
Wives are great critics.
She's brilliant. She's so good because if something's not right, she'll tell me.
And I know. From being shite.
And she's brilliant. She comes up with brilliant ideas for twists and everything, and ideas for books too. I'm really lucky to have Tracy. But so I thought, well, if I write something, so I thought I'm not sure anything until I finish the book.
Right, okay.
And then I didn't tell anyone I was writing it. So the Carphone warehouse helped me out,
right?
Because we didn't have a home computer.
Right.
And there was a time you go to the Carphone warehouse, and if you got a phone from them on a contract, they gave you like a wee laptop.
Right, okay.
So I had a wee compact laptop,
which
weighed about 14 pounds, and took half an hour to turn on.
Yeah.
And I would sit at that every night at the kitchen table after everyone gone to bed, and I would just sit and write for a few hours. Is nighttime writing still your process now, or I've got to write it different as I'm full time now.
Yeah.
So I try and write during the day, but always do a wee bit at night as well. But I don't have a definite. Okay, this is the hour, and I'm sitting and I'm writing. It's just whenever I.
And do you have definite or indefinite, like, I'm writing in this room, or I'm writing? Do you write by hand or do you type?
Sometimes I write by hand.
Right, okay. So it changes a wee bit then?
Changes a wee bit. If I get stuck, I write by hand. I sort of, over lockdown, I sort of really get into fountain pens.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I know it sounds really weird, and it is very geeky, but when I was a lawyer and I was writing all day, and then at home and then writing at night, I was getting like a nerve thing in my wrist.
Yeah.
And I'd read something say, well, try a fountain pen. Because you don't put any pressure in the page.
Yeah.
And then so I get into writing with fountain. And anything I sort of like doing that's writing related, I sort of encourage that. So I write with fountain pens, or I just type on the screen.
Yeah, I've started recently. I'd never really written by hand. I always just typed, and then I suppose one thing that it does that is sort of shit is for me anyway, it feels sometimes like it makes it harder to edit something, I think, a wee bit sometimes, because it looks final and it feels final. And I think when I go to read it, if I don't print it out and just try to read it on the screen to try to make it better, I end up skimming it.
Yeah,
and I need to not do that. I need to really read it.
Well,
so
it's what works. It's whatever works for you, and everyone's different. Harlan Coben does all his first drafts by hand.
Right, okay.
And then he types up. So he writes 3 pages in a coffee shop. He'll go home and he'll type them up. So by the time he's got it on the computer, that's already a second draft.
That's great. Yeah.
So he's kind of ahead of himself that way. But it's just whatever works.
Yeah. Have you seen this thing? There's this thing I started using where it turns your handwriting into text.
Oh, yeah, the remarkable thing.
Yeah.
I've seen it. My publicist is one of those.
It's quite good for me because even though my handwriting is dog shit, it does pick up like nearly all of it. And then you can, when you turn it into text on the thing, then you can dick around with it a wee bit. It has a wee typewriter as well. So you can sort of do it on there and then you send it to. This is nerd banter, but I mean, it's working for me right now. But I suppose it's working for me in constructing things. Whether or not the writing's any fucking better is for anybody to say. But what was I gonna say? So then, like you've gone into writing. Then you've written the first book, which was the defense. Is that right? So then, how did you find that process then? So like for people who don't know, maybe. Generally speaking, you'll want to get a literary agent and then they will sell your book to a publisher. But sometimes that process of getting a literary agent can be a ball ache, or it doesn't happen for people and then you're on to another book or something to maybe try to get somebody. So how did that go for you, and how has it been working? Are you still with that, your first agent, or have you changed, or how did that
I've changed agents a few times. But getting your first agent's really important. If you want to have your book in a bookshop, you don't need an agent today. You don't need a publisher. You can just go and publish on Amazon.
Well, what do you make of that though? Because like sometimes I think in my brain I still go. I have this thought of I still want to write something and have it make a splash through like a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that outdated now?
No.
Or like, is it? Do you think? I mean, the thought for a debut author, is that outdated, or do you think that do you think it's still better than the self-published market?
I don't know if it's better or anything like that. I mean, there are people who love self-publishing and do it very well, and it suits them. And there's other people that. For example, I'm not very good at marketing, but I think if you're doing self-publishing and you want to sell books, you have to be good at that sort of thing and building up a mailing list and all of that. And I'm not great at that, but there's people that's their thing.
Yeah,
and they're almost better marketers maybe than writers.
Yeah,
and there are some really good self-published writers, and they publish regularly and they can publish whenever they want.
Yeah,
traditional publishing is kind of harder to get into.
Yeah.
So you have to get an agent. It took me about a year to get an agent. And then once I was lucky enough to get one, I worked in the book for a few months, did another draft of it, and then sent it away. And getting a publisher was okay.
Yeah.
Some people get an agent and then can't get a publisher.
Yeah.
And some people have an idea of it's gatekeepers. You hear that sort of thing. But it often can be not. It's just that your book hasn't found the right person for it.
Yeah,
the right agent or the right publisher.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be tricky. And there's lots of people struggle to do it, but want to keep doing it. And it's whatever suits you.
I think like my journey has been. I fucking hate that. Stick on Iris by Goo Goo Dolls while I talk about this time. So I wrote a novel in 2013, 2012, 2013, whenever the Levison inquiry was on. So whenever that was, I know that was on, and I know that it's weird the way my brain works. That was in the news, and season 1 of House of Cards was just out. So 12, 13, that kind of time.
Right.
And it was... Do you know what? I probably think it was a decent first novel.
Yeah.
And might even be better than some shit that I wrote that came afterwards. But it was I had this feeling that I really, really intensely wanted to set it here because I'd read some stuff from here that I didn't like, and then I started reading stuff afterwards from here that I did kind of like. But I wrote this thing and it was set here, and I got a 2-book deal with it with no agent. I went straight to a publisher down south.
Awesome.
I tried publishers in Ireland first.
Right.
And I got a couple of bites, and then I went and met 2 of them, and I really liked the guy at one place. And he signed me, and he gave me, like, it was like shit money, like, but it was just like, it's a debut novel. Yeah. It's going to mostly sell here because it was very Belfast-centric. And I was like, I've arrived, like, you know, man, fucking have a scarf and all.
You get a scarf.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know what I did get? This is a true story. With the money that I got, this is true. I bought an Xbox One, and remember the TV we used to use in here, the big ass fucking silver fucking Toshiba 50-inch, the Fitty as it was known. I bought that.
Nice.
And then I had enough money for like maybe a Domino's and a Raffles after, right? And to be fair, that TV served me great. I had that for like fucking 10 years. Anyway, and I was working on notes. So the commissioning editor gave me notes for this book. I was working on them, and then he sends me an email one day going, "I'm leaving the company, by the way." And I was like, "Right, no worries." And he's like, "Listen, your contract's sweet. You know, you'll get there." I was like, "Right." So he left and has gone on to fucking very big things with. I think he moved to Amazon, right? And I then the guy who came in after him, was like clearing the decks, and was like, "I don't really." He's like, "Personally, this isn't my taste. I'd love to put it off another year." And I went, "But it's due out, and I have the second book nearly finished." Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Yeah, listen, like, I think," he goes, "honestly, I think you might be better taking this to another publisher because we're just not going to be really putting the time into it." And I went, I was both dim and a bit arrogant, and went, "Well, darling, you were the third publisher I contacted. 2 out of the 3 I contacted had meetings with me. I'll sell it, no problem. It's in my computer. That's where it lives."
Right.
Like, and it's probably balls now. Like, I know it's balls now. Like, because I know if I haven't even looked at it, because I know if I went back to it, it's 10 years old. And I've
But you could update it.
I reckon. I think it's just, it's dead to me. And then I went through this phase then where I was like reading everything I could read about like agents and who to go to and what to do. And so I started trying to get like, I was like, well, who are the authors I love? Mm-hmm. And that was like, you know, James Lee Burke, James Elroy, different people like that. And so I tried to get James Elroy's agent at the time, who's Stuart Neville's agent, right? And I sent him that book, and he was like, "This is great. It's too Belfast-y. Yeah. Write me something set there that's more worldly." So I wrote this whole other novel, and he liked it, but his partner didn't.
Right.
And then he was like, "Do you want to redraft it?" And I went, "Yep." And it took a few months and redrafted it, and he's like, "I like it." She read it and went, "I don't think you could have redrafted it in this time." And I was like, "But it did. Like, I've been working on it every day." It just died. And then I went through this long period with them where I was like, sending them 50-page samples of things. Right. And not get, he'd go, "I like this one, send me the next 50 pages. I would do it. And then it dies. And that went on for fucking years. And then in the middle of that, I started selling scripts. And I just went, well, this is where I'm doing that now. And so since then, I think I've actually ended up writing something mental, like 4 or 5 novels that are just sitting there.
No way.
And they'll probably never come out. One of them I wrote in a blind fury, where I was doing that thing where I had like a good bit of it done. Yeah. Like maybe 150 pages or something. Good chunk of a sample, like. And I got an agent in America with it. And she was like, "Right, can you send me the rest of it?" And I was like, "Funny story." So I have this stupid way of doing things like that, because that's how I would sell a script. But at this time, I was being thick probably, but also maybe still a wee bit of a dick. Just going, "If you like it, give me time and I'll write the rest of it." Like. Yeah. So I wrote the rest of it, and then she was like, "Look, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be." And I was like, "It's not what I thought it was going to be either." And then I wrote another novel. A whole novel that took me like a good while to write that I actually really liked, and she liked it and she shopped it and nobody took it, and it was just like.
So these crime novels?
Yeah,
you're talking about crime.
Yeah,
writers
they're all crime novels. Like.
And are they all set here?
No, So the one that I wrote in The Blind Panic was
Yeah.
set in the States. The one, and then sorry, and another one set in the States, and then there's three set here. But
Right.
now, this is like a confession. I'm meant to be interviewing you.
No,
Instead, I'm
give
just
me it
going,
all.
solve this for me, right? At the minute, I'm working on a couple of things because I started, right? So my brain won't let me work on one thing
Right.
for enough time. And I've often fought against this, but I recently heard that Don Winslow, who has received mention on this podcast before, when Gallus was on, I recently found out that he worked on multiple things at the same time. So I've gone, well, at least I'm not on my own. It's me and Don, right? And so I have a couple of wee things open at the minute, and they're set in different places. To be fair, none of them are set here. But it's fucking melting me. Like I think what I'm planning on doing is like later in the year, I have some time off from stand up.
Right.
And that's really when I'm gonna. I don't know if it's a thing where I feel like I should pick one and just run at it, or do I keep chipping away at them all? My agent's waiting on one of them,
Right.
and it's probably like my least favorite.
Well,
I'm sitting there going,
well, like multiple issues here. I would,
I know. I have multiple issues.
I would say what you should. I'll tell you the mistake I made.
Write this down. Right, somebody.
I'll tell you the mistake I made. So when I wrote my first 3 books, I was just trying to figure out, okay, how the hell do you write a book? But then I remembered, and my first 3 books, all really good critical acclaim, reviews everywhere, all nominated for awards. The 3rd book won the Crown Writers Gold Dagger for Novel of the Year.
Was that Twisted, or is that?
Oh, that was The Liar.
Oh, The Liar, and then, but Twisted and 13 have done big awards as well.
13's done big awards, and some of the other ones have as well. But the thing was, I was just trying to figure out how to write a book, and they were getting all the awards and nominations and everything, but they weren't selling.
Right.
My second book, The Plea, sold like 700 copies in a year.
Right. Okay.
So I had there's a thing. I try to learn from writers who are better than me, which is most writers. But John Grisham said a brilliant thing. Before he decides what book he's going to write, he asks himself 2 questions: would this be a good story that I would fit a book, like the 400 pages it takes to write a book? Second question is, if I write this, is this a book that a lot of people will want to read?
Right, okay.
Because you can write, your dystopian, vampire book about people who play tiddlywinks or whatever it is.
Right,
that's your thing. And you may love that book, and it may be an amazing book, but there might only be a niche, tiddlywink vampire dystopian audience for that book. So, that's because I want to be able to make a living from it. I want people to read. Exactly. So that's when I wrote the 4th book, 13, and I said, okay, I want like a tagline on the cover, and the tagline is, "The serial killer isn't on trial, he's on the jury."
Yeah.
And when people saw that on the shelf, they're, oh, what's that?
That was...
when you told people about the book, they made a noise. They went, ooh.
That was everywhere, to be fair.
That was everywhere.
I remember... Sometimes if you're into crime fiction and you go to maybe the same place, I go to No Alibis all the time.
Yeah.
So like you would see the books like that in there, but then when you start seeing it in Tesco's and you start seeing it in airports, and you're like, there's ads for this everywhere, and you fucking like it had like, because I think generally speaking, like novels don't have the same. They definitely don't have the same like cut through everything that they would have had 25, 30 years ago.
Exactly.
Even, right? Or certainly not 40 or 50 years ago. But like sometimes, like, because what do you call it, did this too, had that same level of like the chain, the Adrian, what do you call it, the McKinty book?
Yeah.
Like it had that kind of fucking, it's everywhere. But I remember that was all, were they like maybe a year apart, or were they around the same time?
They were about at least a year apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and it was that, they're not similar books, but it was a similar like, fuck, this is everywhere,
yes.
And so
you see like The Girl in the Train with Paula Hawkins, that book was everywhere.
Yeah, where it becomes like something though that people who maybe never talk to you about books go, oh, they know maybe I like it.
Yes.
And they'll go, have you heard of this one? And you're like, yeah, it's fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
The
audience, the readership audience, there's a bullseye. There's people who will buy, 2 or 3 books a week and will read 2 or 3 books a week. And then the outskirts of that target, there'll be someone who maybe only buys 1 or 2 books a year when they're going on holiday and wants something to read on the beach. Those are the readers that I want.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Now, that may not be for every author. Some people I just want, my little group of readers, and if they're happy, I'm happy. But I want, as many people to read my books as possible.
Yeah,
so I always have a tagline on the books. So for Witness 8, it's what if the witness to a murder was more twisted than the killer? So there's a question there. There's something to say, and then they pick it up.
Yeah.
And then that's what I want.
And then, so was 13...
13 was a breakthrough book for me.
Was it the first time, though, that you'd done the first person and third person? Or was that, so do you think that helped? Do you think that, like... So I don't want to spoil the book, but it's Eddie Flynn.
Yeah.
He's working on a big, like a celebrity murder trial.
Yes.
And there's also then the killer, Kane, who's like...
He's trying to get on the jury.
So you get...
But you don't know why.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you get the first person from Eddie Flynn.
Yeah.
And then the third person from Kane. So like it's like, Eddie Flynn, like, I did this, I see this. And then Kane's like, Kane did this, Kane did that. And so it's like... That's kind of, to me, that reminds me of like James Patterson style stuff.
Yes.
Because he mixes those.
Exactly. And same with James Lee Burke.
Yeah,
definitely. Already mentioned James Lee Burke would do that occasionally. So yeah, I mean, that helped expand a bit, because if you're writing a book just in first person, you can only know, and the reader only knows what the character knows. So you don't have as much opportunity for suspense. Because people say these are legal thrillers and they can say whatever they like. To me, they're suspense books.
Yeah.
So I always want the reader to have an element of suspense.
Yeah.
So I always go back to Hitchcock's bomb theory of suspense. You know this?
No.
So Hitchcock, he had this thing. So say, we're sitting here talking, and someone, we're in a movie and people are watching us. We're talking here for 2 minutes, talking shite, and the next thing, a bomb goes off and we're dead. The audience goes for 1 second, and there's a big shock.
Yeah.
Hitchcock's bomb theory is, before we come into this room, the audience sees someone come in and put a bomb under the table with a timer.
Right, okay.
And then we come in. We don't know there's a bomb there. The audience knows there's a bomb there. And we're talking. So for the whole 2 minutes, we're talking. The audience is going, will you ever shut up? There's a bomb under, and they're getting, more tense and more tense and more tense. And then there's the explosion.
Yeah.
So it's this 1 second of shock or 2 minutes of people gripping the table. Yeah. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, because I remember that book, and there's definitely like the Kane chapters. Definitely, the Kane chapters are sort of the ones that when you I mean, I think most of the chapters in the whole book have a bit of a fuck, I need to read the next bit, but the Kane chapters definitely have like a. Not only do I need to read the next chapter, I need to read the next Kane chapter, which might be 2 chapters away or something. So you're like, fuck, and you nearly like blitz through the Flynn stuff, because you're going, this guy is fucking mental, and like, I really don't want to spoil it, but he sort of has like there's 2 characters that kind of, it's not like it, but it reminded me of it, was like the, you mentioned Silence of the Lambs, there's a bit of Hannibal Lecter and a wee bit of the character, what do you call him in Along Came a Spider, the guy, Somji or whatever, the fake teacher, that there's this like ultra attuned sort of thing, but I think there's like a really nice like humor. There's a bit of humor in yours that's so different from those things that are like, to me, fairly, well, Silence of the Lambs, there's a wee bit of humor, but like the Patterson stuff to me is like humorless. Like, it's, that character's not funny. Do you know what I mean? So I think that having that humor in it really, like, it opens it up for somebody like me that I like to see that.
Well, I like to have. The main thing I wanted the books to be is entertaining. Yeah. And some the Eddie Flynn books have more humor in me than some of the other ones. But to me and also makes the character more likable.
Yeah.
If you have a psychopathic killer who can also drop the odd wee one-liner, you kind of like him then.
Yeah.
A bit more. And it rounds the character a little bit more as well.
So somebody asked, by the way, we'll do some other questions, but somebody did ask, this is a top No Blasters question, by the way, was the title of Kill for Me, Kill for You inspired by the Chuckle Brothers?
To me, to you.
That was the first question. I'm like, we have best-selling author coming on. Do you have a question? That was the fucking first one that came in.
The Chocolate Brothers?
Yeah.
No. Although I do, and like many authors take literary, inspiration from the Chocolate Brothers. But Salman Rushdie loves them. But no, that's inspired by Strangers on a Train. That book.
Right. Yeah. The movie.
Novel.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was a book. That's
yeah.
She didn't she do the
Mr. Ripley.
The Ripley book? Sorry.
She did. That was her first book.
Really, I didn't know that. I did not know that at all.
Well, there's actually a very good. There's a tiny little book she wrote called On Writing Suspense.
Right. Okay.
So I would recommend. That's a really good book on writing, and she talks about her own books and says, "Strangers on a Train." She was never happy with it.
Right.
It relies too much on a coincidence. Two people meet on a train.
Yeah.
And one of them wants to kill his father. The other one wants to kill his estranged wife.
Yeah.
And they just happen to meet and happen to tell each other this. And then they get the idea, well, if I kill your wife, I have no connection to you.
Yeah,
no one knows who, you have an alibi when I kill her. And you'll be in scot-free. And then you do the same for my father. And she was saying that's just far too much of a coincidence. So I wanted to do my version of that book with two women. But the women meet in a support group, a bereavement group.
Right,
their
okay.
children have been murdered. And they know who did it, but the police can't prove it.
Right,
and they
okay.
agree to swap murders. But it's like an anonymous grief support
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
So, because I was trying to work out how would this really happen.
So
and
it's
I wanted
like
you
less
to be
coincidental.
less
yeah.
coincidental, plus also wanted you to be kind of with these women. How far is the reader going to go? Am I with this person? Are they going to do this?
Yeah. Because I didn't know, to be fair, that Stranger on a Train was a book. We watched the movie of it not that long ago. And I thought it was good, but it's old obviously, but it
hasn't dated well.
It's a bit cheeser, especially the guy who wants his dad dead is like super cheesy in the movie. And so like when they started talking on the train, I was immediately going, if somebody like this spoke to me on the train, I would immediately be like, I'll be getting off the next stop. You know what I mean?
That hasn't aged well. Psycho has aged brilliantly. Have you read Psycho? Watched Psycho recently?
We watched that. We did like about 4. Chloe didn't like Rear Window, but loves Disturbia.
Right.
Which I'm like, it is Rear Window. That's Rear Window with young Shia LaBeouf and youthful Diddy's next door. That's all it is. There's no.
It doesn't have James Stewart.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not as good.
Chris Kelly and all. Like, I see, whereas, like, I remember it's probably one of those films. I think it was on, like, do you remember, like, BBC Two would have thrown a movie on at, like, 10 o'clock or something on a Saturday night, like, in the 90s. And so I watched it with my dad. And I'm with my mum, actually. And my mum usually is one of those people that can't sit for a film. She'll watch the first 20 minutes, and then you'll hear the vacuum on. In some distant, some room in the house, right? She just hates sitting, but we all just, like, they were like, "Oh, do you remember this?" And I was like, "I've never seen it," and we watched it, and it was like, so it's in there as like a core memory for me,
Right.
But
but Psycho, when the story about Psycho, Hitchcock changed the entire way we go to the cinema with that film.
Right.
Before Psycho came out, people, especially in America, they went to the movies, they would just have dinner and say, let's go and see a movie. And they would just go and buy a ticket and go in. And the film's half over. And they would sit, because they're not going for the plot.
Right.
People went to the movies to watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers dancing, or Gene Kelly, or something like that, because it doesn't matter what the story is.
Yeah, yeah.
Go and watch Laurel and Hardy or whatever.
Yeah.
So with Hitchcock, he said, well, with Psycho, first thing he did with Psycho is it was a book by Robert Bloch.
Right.
When he bought the rights to it, he sent out people all over America to buy every copy of Psycho off the bookshelves. And he stored them all in the warehouse because he didn't want anyone, reading it and then seeing what the twist was.
Yeah, yeah.
So Robert Bloch thought, my book's doing well. It was just Hitchcock was buying them all and storing them in a warehouse. And so the other thing he did was, when the film came out, he said to movie theaters, I'm only going to let you have this film if you do this. Once the first reel has begun of the movie, you cannot let anyone else into the theatre.
Oh, shit. Right.
And the cinema chains, well, absolutely no way. We're not doing that. And he says, well, then you're not getting the film. Eventually, they all agreed. So what you had then is a lot of big movie-going public all wanting to go and see a film at the same time.
Yeah.
So that made a line of people. People were queuing up to get into the film, which had never happened before.
That's mental.
The line would go around the block and break into the next block. That's where we get the phrase blockbuster from.
This fucking guy. I didn't know that at all. That's great.
So
it's a great show.
He's just Hitchcock, so as well as being director, he changed the whole cinema.
So the Norman Bates guy is based, isn't he? There's a couple of things that have been based on. I always forget the guy's name, but
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, the guy he
made furniture out of people.
That's my Ed Gein impression. That's him stretching somebody's face in the lampshade. Apparently that was all psychological with his ma as well.
Yeah,
some weird shit with his mum made him like make furniture and like luggage and suits out of people and all. Like, I mean, that's waste not, want not. You know, would be what it says on Ed Gein's gravestone.
I haven't seen. Have you seen Long Legs yet?
No.
You know that's Anthony Perkins' son who directed that film?
No.
Oz Perkins.
Is it? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. My wife and my daughter went to see it the other day and said it was really, really good.
Right,
It's meant to be very scary.
No, I haven't seen it.
I want to see that.
I think like I don't usually go in for loads of scary films because they stay in my brain forever, and like I'm such a bitch about it. Like I really am. Like we watched What Lies Beneath the Other night. It's one of Chloe's favourite films.
That's a good one.
And it's pretty good, like, but we were this so there's a couple of scenes in it where she goes to walk into the house and she puts her hand out. I always think it's weird if someone goes to open a door like that, by the way, and not like that. But anyway, with a doorknob, she goes like that and she puts her hand out and the door opens before she touches it.
Yeah.
And Chloe and I were just discussing the fact that, like, I was like, to be fair, if I was walking into the house and I did that and the door opened the first time, I might go, that's weird. If it happened the second time, I'm probably ringing the priest, right? Now, Chloe goes, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, do you remember last year when we moved in here? Like, and I went, yeah. And she goes, I've always thought there was something here. And I was just like, don't ruin. And then when we actually started talking about it, I had blocked this out. There was a thing. Did we talk about this, about the calendar? The thing going on with the calendar, where we had a calendar up in the living room or in the kitchen, and it would just fall all the time. It would just constantly, anytime we wrote on it, like you come down next morning, it's out of the wall right. And then we taped it up one time, like taped it, and came down and it was on the floor, but the tape was still on the door.
Oh.
And it was like right. And we actually literally did talk about maybe ringing a priest, right?
You need some of my grandest holy water.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's shaking his head at me. What's that for? They'll come out and exercise the place. It'll be the only exercise happening in my house. They were shitting ourselves, and to be fair, loads of shit was breaking in the house at this time. Like I actually didn't really like the house for about 6 months after we moved in. Like, it was driving me up a fucking wall. Like, it's like, that lock on that door doesn't work. Need a locksmith out. Totally new handle, new lock. Oh, the same in the garage. Oh, the fucking gas regulator's broken out of nowhere. Oh, the hot water's off again. Like, it was driving me up the fucking wall. But like, we were talking about it, and then in the movie, just at this point, Pfeiffer goes and whips out a Ouija board, and I'm like, never.
You're right.
I can't happen in my house. Like, we're not. I have a problem where we're watching something and I project it immediately into my own life. So I'm like turning around to Chloe and going, just so we're clear, never a Ouija board in the house, right? Ever, right? And I was talking to another comedian yesterday, James McCagney, and we were talking about that. And he said, so William was like, oh, but he fucking believes in magic and all. And I'm like, fuck up. And McCagney goes, what do you mean, like spirits and demons and whatever and ghosts? And I went, well, that too. And and William goes, do you believe in that? And McCagney goes, I wouldn't take a chance. he said like when they're reading shit out of like devil books and all in movies, he'll sit like that. He doesn't even want to hear it. But it's mental. But so So tell us a wee bit about what you can about the story in this one. Can you tell us?
And this, yes. So this book, there's a lady called Ruby Johnson, who used to live in this really high-end street in New York, and it's full of like Broadway producers and tech CEOs. And there are streets like that in Manhattan. And she used to live in the street, but doesn't anymore. But she works as like a babysitter and nanny to a lot of the families there. And she's gone home from work one night, and she sees one of the neighbours being murdered. And she knows who the neighbour is, and she knows who the killer is.
Wow.
And she phones the police and gives them a completely different name of someone else, totally innocent in the street, because Ruby Johnson is something's very wrong with Ruby Johnson. Oh, that's
good. I like that.
And Eddie has to defend the innocent man accused.
That is an unbelievable hook, to be fair. Like,
thanks very much.
That's fucking great. It has the.
I see. That's what you want.
It does
to make a noise.
Yeah, that's great. So this is out on the 1st
of August.
Before we go, just a couple of other wee questions I have.
Work away.
Can we do? I have a couple, and then we'll do a couple, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, what was I going to say? So, what, in terms then of like, because people have asked about this as well. To be fair, a couple of people asked me on Twitter about this. Somebody literally just went, what's the crack with bringing Eddie Flynn to the screen, and how's that going, or how's that working, or do you think because you wrote screenplays before, would you want to do the screenplay? I know some people are just like,
yeah.
I think I went and saw James Elroy when he was launching one of his books. Funny, like
he's completely buck mad. You do know that? Seriously,
there's. It's not even that screws are loose. They're missing, and they're sellotape up. Like, you know what I mean? Like he talked about how, like, it was funny because somebody said he doesn't want to talk about the movie versions. He doesn't give a fuck about them. Yeah. But like he said something. He said, like, LA Confidential's okay, the rest of them sort of shit. But he's like, green. He's like, green is a color that suits me. Large is a size that fits. He's just talking about money, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of people who just kept going, so do you think they'll ever make like the, Brown's Requiem into a movie? Tom Hanks says he would do it, and he just goes, green is a gift that I like, large is a size that always fits. He just says the same shit, and there's like about 8 people asking the same question. He just keeps saying the same answer. So funny. But anyway, how does that strike you, or what's your thoughts on all
that? All I can say is we're in development. But I'm not allowed to say who's involved or what we're doing or what stage we're at. But I'm working with people. Like, watch this space, yeah.
Class. And what's your view on that generally in terms of like your level, like of like, are you just like, this is fucking great because you'll see it made, or like, are you like, fuck, I need to,
Well, the thing with Hollywood is, have you ever read William Goldman's book?
Which the Adventures in the Screen Trade.
That's
fucking great.
And he has the phrase, which is in Hollywood, nobody knows anything.
It's so true.
There are a very few people who kind of do know things, and the trick is to work with them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing, and I sort of trust them. Whether or not I'll be in, and depending on my involvement depends on books and tours and everything else. But I am involved. I am involved in calls and everything else.
That William Goldman book's great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, he has a couple of great books, but like so some of his novels are great as well, but that one and the one that comes after it,
What lie did I tell?
Which lie did I tell? It's fucking just great. Like, what questions have we got there now?
So Eamon wants to know, how important is setting the scene before starting the story?
Not that important to me. There's some people that the scene's really important. Like there's some readers who say, "Oh, I want to read a book about Italy," or "I want to read a book about whatever," and they will go for fiction set in a particular place. And some writers, it's all about the location. For me, my books are all set in New York, but I wrote the first 3 books and I had never been to America.
Right, okay.
So for me, I was just like, but everyone has an idea of what New York is, whether you've been there or not, because you've seen Ghostbusters.
Films. Yeah, definitely.
And, everyone knows, so I can be able to set the scene quite quickly. But I don't take a huge amount of time doing that. Mostly for me, it's about character. Who is the characters in this? What do they want? And what's going to stand in their way?
Yeah.
Tiernan wants to know, if you had an unlimited budget and complete creative control, what sort of TV show or film would you write?
Oh, I would do like a Northern Irish version of The Wire. Have you seen The Wire?
Yeah. The Wire.
The Wire.
The Wire.
We wouldn't call it The Wire for obvious reasons. But David Simon, when he's creating that series, which is one of the best cop shows ever, he said, how do you create like a series which is a long-running story? Who's the best at doing that? Writers, novelists. So we had George Pelecanos and Dennis Lehane and Richard Price all wrote that show. So I would get a few writers from Northern Ireland and the South and say, what can we do here? And sort of let them do it. And then I would take all I wouldn't want to do any work. I would just like to take all the credit for it.
You want the glory for putting
I'd like the glory,
the
glory and the larger check.
Yeah. Fuck, if I was doing that, if I had, do you know, this is sad, but I would love to do like an Irish Braveheart with Cuchulainn. And do that in a very grounded, because like when you read any of like the Ulster Cycle or any shit like that, thousands of years old folklore, whatever. When you read it, it's all a bit like, oh, Cuchulainn has his wife and kids, he's killing all these people, he's 12, and you're like, what? So I prefer like if you told that as a grounded thing, you know, like for instance in Braveheart, they have that bit where, you know, someone says like, oh, and he's 10 feet tall, and then he mocks that later in one of the speeches. I think if you did that, and then I think if you put like personally, I think this is a Fassbender role, but if you could get Cillian interested, I'm sure people would buy it. I'm saying this as if I know.
Who would buy it with Fassbender?
I wouldn't
as well.
I would go see that. I'm saying it like I say as if, you know, like I'm must remember to text Michael when we get home. But yeah, if it was like no expense spared, and you know, because I think you would need buckets of money just to like even get people to go, aye, okay. Like you couldn't go in on that with like a development deal. You need to just have people go, yeah, we're doing this. And
what's your budget? Are you not just in like in a field in Dromore somewhere with somebody?
But people have to die in that field, and it needs to look good. You know what I mean? And I want Fassbender, and I want do you know my whole take on this story? Steal it if you want, but thank me, right? Is to have it that because that's Cuchulainn's basically supposed to have lived around Newry, narrow water at like around the 1st century AD. So like, you know, what else is going on in the world at that time? The Roman Empire's expanding massively. So Dan hates it. He's just rolled his eyes. But I would do it. I would do it that the Romans are, because we know the Romans came.
Yes.
But it's like I want to see them coming and going.
They didn't stay.
Yeah, I want them to. I want to see them coming and going, fuck this place. But then when they're here, something happens between them and Cuchulainn that means that, and I'm going to call him Setanta for the story, right? And then we'll get Setanta.
Carlos Setanta.
Yeah. So that's my take. We'll have one last question to finish then.
Yeah, Colin wants to know which books that haven't been adapted as a series or film do you think would make a good watch?
Oh, that's a good question.
There's one for you because you like all this history stuff. Are you aware of a writer called David Gemmell?
I don't think so, no.
Fantasy writer. All the fantasy awards are called the Gemmell Awards after him.
Oh, wow, right, okay.
Fascinating guy, working class fella. He was a bouncer in a porno theatre in London for years, and a real hard man. And he got cancer.
Sorry.
He wrote yeah, exactly. Yeah. Boom, boom.
Oh no, the cancer bit actually ruined that.
Cancer
joke for me.
Yeah, sorry about that. My bad. But he got a cancer scare, and he wrote a short story about like this fort being under siege, and the fort was sort of like metaphorical for his body.
Oh fuck, right, okay.
And it was all based on like the Mongols and Genghis Khan and stuff like this. So he wrote like 30 books, and they're all amazing. They're fantastic books. I wrote, and a lot of them, there's some Irish mythology ones, wee bit like what you've described. Right. They're brilliant books. So I would love to see David. There was talk of like Sean Connery was going to be involved in one of these movies, but they can never get it off the ground. We did Greek mythology and everything. They're
amazing,
wonderful.
I see. I don't really. That's probably one shit thing from my side is like I tend to read the same type of thing a lot. I'm not really. I read history as well, but I don't really read out enough. I don't, I've only read like maybe like a few like Philip K. Dick things, and like someone was telling me about a series called the Hyperion series. I haven't read that, but apparently
I haven't either.
It's like a big fantasy sci-fi thing of like, it's a really fucked up idea about this place where like time moves at different rates.
Like I'm gone. Like I can't do that.
And I'm interested in starting that, but I also see that like it's like a million pages long, and I'm like, I sort of just want. Do you know what I love? I love a crime novel that's about 120 pages.
Yes.
A wee thin one.
Uh-huh.
And I'll buy it with a bigger one.
Yeah.
But I'll go to that wee thin one and go, I'll shit this out in a day.
Exactly.
And it's great. Like I'm reading, and I normally don't do this either, but I'm reading the James Lee Burke, the short stories that are just out there, the Harbour Lights. And so I love that too now, where I feel like I'm finishing something quite quickly. Because I don't really get as much time to read as I would like. But
see, that's the thing with fantasy books. They're 1,000 pages long, and somebody will say this series is great, but it starts getting good at book 3, and there's
like,
14 books.
I'm like, I don't have time for that shit.
And there's sometimes the books start, there were 14 wizards and 7 kings, and 1,000 years ago this happened, and it's all nonsense. Whereas a Gamble book will start with 2 guys in a pub having an argument.
Yeah.
And it's all about the characters. You're just into the story straight away. So that's why I love his stuff.
If I was waiting on something, I'm obviously waiting on Heat 2. I'm overjoyed that that's been made. I'm so happy. I love Heat. Like I love that movie. I love the book. I'm loving that. If I was waiting on anything else, do you know what? I'd quite like to see them do Perfidia, the James Ellroy novel, the one that's set during so Pearl Harbor happens, and it's in that week, and everything happens, I think, in about 10 days or something like that. Or maybe, no, it's like 3 weeks. I think it's from Pearl Harbor to the end of December that year, so it's like three weeks or something. And it's fucking great, and it has loads of stuff in there all about that, about those camps that they put like Japanese Americans in.
The internment camps in America.
Because it's a story that they don't really...
They don't advertise it.
They don't talk about it. It's in Karate Kid, speaking of which.
Cobra Kai.
Fresh Cobra Kai out this week. Shit myself. It's out tomorrow. I'm doing nothing else.
I've not watched it. I've avoided it.
It's great.
Because the Karate Kid's a special place in my memory as a kid, and I don't want to spoil it.
I know, but because it's special to me, right? But I believe that if you're willing to put up with what I would call Saturday night between 5 and 7, like that level of cheese, like a bit of A-Team style cheese, a bit of Baywatch style cheese. If you're able to put up with that and let that be injected into
Sandy
the Karate
Kid,
yeah. If you want some sandy cheese, right? You'll be rewarded for knowing about the previous Karate Kids. It gives you wee bits. There's some unbelievable banter in there about those movies as well. Like my favorite bit of banter is that do you remember Karate Kid 3? The bad guy, Terry Silver, he's completely ridiculous, like has a ponytail and all, and he's, not that makes you totally ridiculous, but like completely ridiculous bastard of like, he's a millionaire, but he's like kickboxing, or he's karate training and all in his house, and like he's gonna take time off just to like make Miyagi's knuckles bleed. Like that's the story of the third one. And in Cobra Kai, when he eventually shows up, spoiler alert, they talk about how like he spent the 80s and most of the 90s just coked off his mind. Like that's why I even had time to do that for you. Like I was just doing coke and didn't care.
That's deep Karate Kid stuff.
And
that's
I sort
deep.
of go like, I love that they're looking back on that and going, listen, we know the third one was a bit shit.
Yeah.
So we're gonna sort of joke about it, you know. So I love that. So yeah, this has been fucking great. Thanks for coming in.
No, it's been really good fun.
I hope the book Witness It does great. It's out on the 1st of August. Check it out. That's gonna be fucking great. So thanks a million for coming in, and thanks for being here. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Oh no.